This story begins with a fierce battle between a young man named James and a huge horrible plant that has mutated and become a monster. Such creatures as a rule have a weak point. It is inside their body, and is called the energy core. It is such a life rod. If the guy can find it and capture, then the plant will begin to obey only him. First, James decided to try to get hold of the kernel with the help of magic, but the body of the enemy was too big. It does not allow it to absorb so easily. We still have to get inside the plant, find the kernel and take possession of it personally. The monster felt the magic effect, so immediately tried to attack the guy. As a friend to help James comes his huge fox, which blocked the blow of the wild plant. By the way, the name of this fox is Cooper. This time he came more than ever in time. The owner reminded him that you cannot eat these vines that the plant attacks, because there is poison inside. Now the main task of Cooper, to contain the monster, while James will look for his heart. When the operation is successful, the owner will allow his pet to tear apart the entire outer shell. The monster couldn't understand why the fox was helping the man, so he suggested that they work together. There was a huge unimaginable energy coming from this man, which was in his body. If you absorb it, you can take all the energy for yourself. Since the fox was very loyal, he did not give in to this provocation, and in response just teased and showed his tongue. James was already inside. There was a very unpleasant smell around. It felt like the plant was about to rot. He heard that a battle had already started outside, even though Cooper had already reached rank E, but it was still dangerous to collide with the flower of Carol the Tyrant of rank D, so he had to do everything as soon as possible. When James touched the wall with his hand, he noticed that there were traces of digestive juices on the wall. That means he's on the right track. The core must be here somewhere. In the distance he could hear someone asking for help. Could there be more survivors inside? It was decided to go to the voice, and tried to help the man. When the guy got close to her, she pounced on him and tried to destroy him. She may have been a nice girl once, but because she was here, she was no longer recognizable. The protagonist has good fighting skills, and was easily able to fight it off. Then many bright red eyes appear in the darkness, and all of them asked only one thing, to save them. Apparently, they were the same people who were swallowed by the monster, and locked here forever. As soon as James managed to get to the core, the monster started talking to him. He told him that he had copied these people's appearance and voice on purpose, so that they looked a little bit like they did in their previous lives. Now, one of my favorite copies is on display. James didn't hesitate to destroy it. He didn't have time to look at the perverted tastes, the scenes of fighting and destroying each other. He had seen it too many times to be surprised. The monster was impressed. He didn't think the boy was so heartless. One of his main plans was to make James' heart sink. But the surprises didn't end there. Behind the boy's back, his little sister appeared, also asking to be saved. That sibling's voice turned everything inside upside down. She was so small, and there was no way to help her. Instead of crying, James began to feel an intense anger that gave him even more strength and faith in himself. He activated his magic and prepared to attack. His main goal now was to destroy the monster with the most sophisticated methods possible. Initially, the monster did not take the guy seriously. He was confident in his victory, because he knew the most serious weaknesses of his opponent. Not to drag the rubber, James jumps into the monster's mouth, activates the ability to devour, and begins the destruction right from the inside. The magical sword began to tear apart everything around it. The monster was in a lot of pain, to say the least, although just a few seconds ago, he was sure of his victory. Thanks to the fact that the guy knows where the core is, he stepped confidently in that direction. When it came to the full realization that there was no chance of victory at all, the monster began to give back, saying how much he admired this man, so if the guy leaves right now, he will spare him, and give him the opportunity to leave quietly. Such tales James has listened to not the first time, so he is not used to it. After looking around, it became clear that the core must be below this level. There was even a bright red light coming from it. So the kid took out his magic swords, and with maximum speed started digging straight towards it. It's hard to believe such a huge monster has such a small core. Now it's time to activate the Devour ability to extinguish that evil bright light once and for all. After putting your hand to the core, bright blue tubes come out of the vein, which I end up doing my job very quickly and efficiently. There was a very pure plant source in the guy's body, which allowed him to do seemingly unrealistic things. While this process was going on, James moved as if to some intergalactic space. There was the person who made the guy so strong. This time he absorbed the Tyrant King's flower before James did, which was a bit of a shame. It happened because the plant was of the same type, and if the type is the same, you can absorb it directly, which is many times faster than usual. So everyone around the guy got stronger, but he didn't. In any case, he does not want a bit, because he knows that everything that belongs to him will definitely fall into his hands, and the environment of strong acquaintances is also important. One of them is called Ability Contract. Thanks to it, it is possible to make contact with the target and get the target's abilities. In case the target loses his life, the contract will be ineffective. It is possible to make this contract only with a human. The power of the property contract is equivalent to the skill level. The resident's ability can absorb an ability fragment to make the ability contract increase. To put it simply, it is an enhancement to the devouring ability. Just one is used for zombies and the other for humans. The devouring ability really helps a guy get stronger in a short period of time. Well, as it turns out, the Tyrant King flower is not the strongest monster in these parts. There is another stronger one that should be located in the center of Qingxian City. Meanwhile, outside, the monster had collapsed to the ground and was without any signs of life. The people who were watching all this were sincerely hoping that James had won after all, and would now be back in one piece. It was urgent to send someone there, because the guy hadn't been outside for quite a while, in case he needed help. It was decided to send a guy named Riley. He was not against it, but he was very worried that nothing bad would happen to those who would stay outside. The guys assured him that they were perfectly safe here, and he agreed. Meanwhile, James was already under the core. As he expected, there was a source of life force, which will save the life of one of his friends, whose name is Charlie. Riley's here with Cooper on his arm, coming to check on the situation. Cooper must be pretty tired, so he decided to become a fun little pet. When Riley came here, he saw Baby lying in the ruins, so he took him with him. James said this place was very safe, and asked them to bring everyone who was left outside. The first thing the source of life force was put Cooper. He did a great job today. It must have been hard to fight a rank D monster alone. In 20 minutes, Charlie was already put in the spring. His problem was that now a very dangerous poison was flowing in him. Here his body could be cleansed. This spring was the real magic. It could cure any injury, and even diseases. Even though Riley was healthy, he also needed to enter there because the source could increase his physical strength and help him rise in rank faster. Since basically the entire team had just awakened recently, it would help him become much stronger. In the end, the guy stopped resisting after all, and went swimming. It might take some time for the guys to absorb. Ever since James got the ability contract, he started thinking about his friends and their abilities. In order to increase the contact level of an ability, 100 ability fragments must be used. James had long ago collected enough fragments that he could use to upgrade his contract. The decision was made to sign the first contract, together with Charlie. As a result, the skill of shadow breaking was acquired. When James had done basically everything he wanted to do, he ordered the Cooper to guard the boys, and went on patrol himself. Now we need to collect more fragments of abilities, and sign a contract with Riley, then the guy will become even more powerful. The first order of business was to mop up the nearest zombies and familiarize myself with the shadow breaking ability. Using his gut, the guy determined that zombies had gathered on a nearby street. Now he could extend his shadow within his gut's detection range. The shadow will be used as a mediator. Next, the devouring ability will activate, and a massive collection of point evolution will begin, 10 per zombie. As it turns out, the shadow burst skill combined with devouring work very handy for mopping up low-level zombies, but now he needs to earn more ability fragments. James' gut tells him that there's a special aura not far from here that he's very curious about. This aura does not belong to a zombie or even a human, it is something completely new. There is a strange woman on the scene and dancing non-stop, there is a huge pumped-up man, and a very small girl who applauds for a good dance. From the outside, it looks like a concert in a mental hospital. Then the little girl wanted to play with her huge friend, but they were interrupted by James. He just came to them and stood near them. He absolutely no one cared. The most important thing is to find out who has this energy. The little girl would be shocked at the audacity of it. So ordered a bonehead to quickly get rid of James. This is not exactly a hospitable act, but the guy was not confused and with one swing of his sword destroyed this pumped-up monster. The little girl clearly did not expect such a turn of events. She was eager to find out who it was, because she had set up a lot of sub-wires around the area, and was bound to find out in advance if anyone came near, but for some reason it didn't happen. Luckily James used the shadow gap to get through here without disturbing them, otherwise the girl would have probably escaped. The girl asked the guy to stop acting like a deaf idiot because he destroyed her little bone zombie. He should apologize for that. I wonder how she manages to control the zombie. To find out more, the guy decided to meet her. The girl was radical. She wasn't going to keep the dialogue going until James apologized for what he'd done. She did say her name, by the way. The girl's name is Anna. The guy knew right away who she was. The little girl standing in front of him is a warrior of the S rank, known in the inner circle as the Black Queen. In James' past life after the apocalypse, the Black Queen was the first human to contract the virus. For some unknown reason, the virus damaged her body but prevented her from losing consciousness. Thus the Black Queen became a zombie with human consciousness. She possessed two types of features. The first type is the mental spirit mind power, which uses the strong mental spirit power to destroy the enemy's consciousness. The second ability is her only ability, called Zombie King. Because of the power and special presence of the Black Queen, people were at odds. One side wanted to destroy her, and the other wanted her to stay alive. Eventually people treated her as a human being, but the unpleasant talks still continued. In the end, the Queen chose to be a loner. She was rumored to be cold-blooded and could destroy people without any regret. But so pure and innocent Anya, no matter how you look at her, she doesn't look like a demon. James said he didn't have any evil intentions, he just wants to be friends. In fact, he just needs to recruit strong people like her for the team. She gave him a very indignant look, and said that James and his friends had already come to her, and she didn't want to be friends with them. The guy couldn't even roughly remember when he had come to her because it hadn't happened. So he asked her to tell him what the people who came to see her looked like. James didn't look like a bad person, so Anna agreed to draw everyone who approached her. Generally a zombie named Little Bonehead was her drawing teacher, and before the end of she teaches a girl to draw he so did not have time. The result, of course, was astonishing. So a few days ago, these people came to find Anna, but she ran away from them, and the man in the picture was a gym teacher. It made James think that maybe they stole his little sister after all. They have a lot of people at their command, all in black cloaks. Their target is zombies. Many zombies and evolved beasts have already been taken over by them. Suddenly the earth began to shake violently, which means that there is a strong evolved beast nearby. It is just about to go and eat someone. James immediately realized what he was doing was bad, so he grabbed the girl and put her on his back. At the same moment they were attacked by a huge beast. The girl was scared out of her wits, while James remained calm. Anna couldn't even imagine how strong the guy really was. Literally one good magical blow, and the beast was destroyed. The little girl was just shocked at how he handled it so easily. If you looked at the guy from afar, he might look like he was glowing. James wondered if the girl could control such monsters. The thing was that she was not yet at that level, but in the future she would probably be able to do so. James decided to take the little girl to the safe place because there's definitely nothing for her to do here. Anna finally realized that he was not like all the other evil guys, so she agreed to go with him, but said that it was temporary. Having gained great speed, the guys went to the place of the battle with the plant. They were already waiting for their friends. Cooper sensed from afar that the host would not be alone. The first thing the guys asked was who the girl was and what was taking so long. James told them that he had found her when he was on patrol and had decided to bring her with him, and he also asked how they felt after absorbing the source of life force. It was just fine. They were noticeably stronger, and all the abrasions on their bodies had healed. Riley could also use the ability James had taken from him. The guy explained that he didn't take the ability, but could just borrow it, thanks to his ability. Of course, the guys didn't mind that, because they knew that James would find a better use for their abilities than they did. Charlie's skill can't be taken away because his ability is temporary. Cooper was very angry at Anna for taking his place. James quickly put the little girl down and told no one to fight. The situation has changed dramatically. Now it is necessary to plan further actions. The difficulty is that there are two unknown forces. It can be dangerous to stay here, so James strongly recommended his friends to go down to the shelter and wait for him there. The guys did not want to leave their friend alone. They were very worried about him. There are also two other cute members of the team. The adult girl's name is Jessica and the little girl's name is Emily. They need to be looked after and not to be harmed. Since it's so dangerous here, the guys are suggested to leave altogether and find a safe place. It cannot be done for one simple reason. In the center of Qinxian, now there may be information about a very interesting person. It is absolutely necessary to find out. In the end, the guys agreed. Since James now has Charlie's abilities, alone in battle there will be no use. Now what to do with this little girl? Anna will go with James, because she's unique and temporarily unsuitable for the orphanage. Well, they're going to go to the orphanage and they're going to wait for the boy, but in return, he has to come back safe and sound. And when the guys arrive, they have to say they've come from James, and then they'll be allowed to stay for free. Anna was very fond of Cooper, and he told her that he would like to stay, but because he was too obedient he couldn't. Everyone said goodbye and wished each other to see each other soon. Now we must go to the Qinxian Center as soon as possible. Anya was very surprised when at one moment everything around became dark. Now the guys are in the shadows. Thanks to this they can move quickly and remain unnoticed. Now the girl understood how the guy avoided her zombies. When the window for the exit appears, you need to go in his direction, and in 10 minutes, the guys will be already in place. In the center of Qinxian can come a lot of unknown things, so you need to be prepared for everything. The evolution points that the guy got after destroying the Tyrant King's flower should be invested in improving his strength and agility, and the rest can be used to improve his detection skill a bit. With the help of the Shadow Gap, the guy will be able to further increase his detection advantage. And the rest will be as it is for now. After the improvement, James began to emit a bright purple light. He was fine, the main thing was not to get close. The improvement was very serious. Even though the guy was still F rank, he began to feel like he had reached the D rank standard. It's time to move on. The destination is the center of town. As it turned out, James is not the only one who wants to come here. Some group has been walking here for days, looking for ruins, but so far without any success. If there's a fight, they probably won't be able to take on such a strong opponent. Based on their map, the entrance to the ruins should be somewhere nearby. Among this company was a man who possessed an ability called density, which allows you to determine the density of a substance and measure it. The girls began to suspect that their acquaintance would not go with them to the ruins. Apparently she has her own mission. It seems that she came here to find someone, and she can leave at any time. As it turned out, there is really a big space down there. Maybe it is possible to make a passage. That's what we decided to do. The guy started drilling right here. When the passage opened, the ruins looked more like a cave than a cave, and it was getting a little creepy. Meanwhile, James and Anna were almost there. Something bad was going on here, because there was a strange energy around them. The tree of evolution also reacted to this energy. Maybe what he's worried about is out there somewhere. It's a giant monkey monster that someone burned to the ground, but who could do it? James and these people seem to have a pretty similar goal. Maybe someone has opened the ruins. They want the same thing as James, so the guys are going down into the dungeon as a team. We need to stop them as soon as possible. The guys sped up and in 10 minutes they were at the place where they made the passage to the ruins. James was very upset because he didn't make it before they went down. The boy didn't know what was waiting for him downstairs, so he told the little girl to stay here. Anya immediately made it clear that she would not stay, because she was very strong and could help. In this case, the guy did not even have the right to argue with her, and was obliged to take her with him. In fact, Anya could also be one of the targets of these people, so she had better stay close to James. Today the guy entered the ruins for the first time. The most important thing is to stay together, and not to scatter. No one knows what might happen next. Judging by the destroyed knights, these people went to the right. James decided to go left. At the same time, the guy tried to guess how many had come down here before him. There are a lot of battle dolls here. Apparently they are standing there for a reason. We had to go and see how they would react. As soon as the guys got too close, the puppets detected them and tried to attack. James was ready for this, so he made one precise strike, activated a shadow burst, and the knights began to destroy themselves. She found a bright blue stone in one of the bodies. It must be what makes these things move. If James understands it correctly, it's called an energy core crystal. It's a lot of energy. It's what makes these guys so active. Unfortunately, all of them were of the lowest rank and completely useless. Anya already had a bag full of these crystals. Then a ranky battle puppet came out to meet the guy. But why so quickly? The guys had very little forward momentum. This puppet was also very aggressive, and immediately started attacking. Guy had left his shadow in front of him, so the blow just went through. It just needed to destroy his energy core crystal, and he would never be able to move again. With the help of the shadows, James tried to get right inside. In principle he succeeded, but to destroy the core no, because the puppet began to defend its energy crystal. At least it was worth a try. Then you have to go into battle with your fists. Even without the use of balls, the guy began to smash the doll into pieces. After the first accurate blow, it lost an arm, and after the second powerful blow from the knee, it already lost its head. That's how easy it is to destroy an E-rank knight in just a few minutes. The ore crystal of this battle puppet should definitely not be of the lowest rank. This time it was of intermediate rank. I wonder what will happen next. James decided to give it to the little girl, because he had seen her frantically collecting crystals from ordinary puppets. She liked this gift very much. Also along with the stone, there was a stone plate, but it looks unfinished. Perhaps it is only a small part of the whole picture. So far it doesn't show any valuable information. We should definitely put the whole puzzle together. Suddenly the plate began to glow, the floor shook, and a passage downward opened in front of the boys. Perhaps it is a guide to the stone slab. There was no choice to go down. The guide of the stone slab should lead to its counterpart. Supposedly it should be inside a stronger marionette. Question: how many more of these will there be? When the guys went completely down, they saw there a huge metal spider, and around him a bunch of small real ones. James gave the little girl some of the stone slab, and asked her to stand there and not go anywhere. The little girl was a little scared, so she immediately agreed, and asked James to be very careful, because this monster looked really very dangerous. The only thing happy about the spider was the E rank, meaning it wasn't as strong as it could be. Even though the guy is F rank, he eats monsters like this for breakfast. The main thing is to do everything competently and not let yourself get hit. Since the guy has 2 S rank skills and 1 A rank, it allows him to do wonders. His fighting ability should be D rank, or even cooler. But if this continues, then James will definitely encounter those who went the other way. To do not happen, nothing bad must get as many things in the ruins, and thanks to them to increase their fighting power. Meanwhile, the close encounter began. The guy jumped right on top of the spider's head, and started removing each eye in turn. That's a pretty good solution. After these procedures, the guy quickly got off the spider, and began to wait for him to fall, to strike the last decisive blow. As soon as this happened, James accelerated, and flew through the spider, after which he tore into pieces. Anya was shocked, and cannot understand how the guy so quickly manages to defeat such strong opponents. There is no secret about it. You need to know the weaknesses of your enemy, and then the fight will end several times faster. The guy also brought the other half of the stone slab. Besides it, there was something else, the crystal of intelligence. After using it, the intelligence increases by 10% forever. The 10% increase in intelligence is really good, but not very useful for Jason, so he decided to give this stone to the little girl and take the slab for himself. This crystal is very good for her, because she uses intelligence all the time. When the stone fell into the girl's hands, it immediately activated on its own. Anya began to feel her intelligence overflowing. Now it was time for the plates. What would happen if they were connected? A bright light started coming out of the eye that was displayed, then a whole hologram appeared. Apparently it was a map of the ruins. It looked very impressive. These lines indicate the path is gold and red, the colors indicate rewards and level of danger. The light is golden color, is on the 5th and 3rd floors. It looks like they will be guarded more heavily than the rest. It's so strange that the map didn't show a path to the 3rd floor. Then the guys noticed some strange movement on the part of the spider. He began to fall down. It seems to open the way to the 3rd floor. Now it became clear exactly. The stone slab points to a hidden path, which is not on the map. Soon the plates that Jameson had connected turned into a star. Of course, it was unclear how they had done it, but it was decided to take the star with them, in case it was still useful. If it was not disposable, it would be possible to look at the map at any time. In general, the guys decided not to stay long, and went in the direction of the stairs that had just appeared. And there they were waiting for a very long descent down the serpentine. If you look down, you can't even see the end and the edge. Meanwhile, the guys who came here earlier were on the 5th floor of the ruins. When they first came here, they didn't feel any tension, but now it was starting to get kind of scary. They were walking down some very solemn path that they assumed they would soon have to fight the final boss. The guys are so frightened that they began to think that even the stone statue could attack them. In principle, in this dungeon everything is possible, but not to this extent. We need to stop talking and be very attentive. Apparently the group has reached the extreme point. It looked very spectacular. Bright blue flames, golden chains, a beautiful huge safe. But where is the boss? Unknown is a bit scary. This huge safe turned out to be a crystal coffin. A stone slab in the shape of a circle was lying right on the chest of a sleeping girl. It is the same broken divine hand that everyone is looking for. The task was to take this slab whatever happened, and protect it to the last. Also thanks to her sense, the evil lady felt that they have a few annoying rats coming from behind. You need to go into battle mode. They came here quite quickly. They were 3 unknown people with red eyes and dark cloaks. This group should be punished for betraying the true God. In principle, the organization that hides in the dark also claims to be traitors. Rats should hide in the sewers. These guys didn't talk for a long time and ran straight into battle. The goal was to destroy the entire group. This woman was far from weak. With the help of her magic, she was going to restrain these monsters while her assistant would steal the stone slab. Also, one of the guys she ordered to protect him while the process of opening the coffin was underway. Meanwhile, James and Anna finally moved to the 3rd floor of the ruins. They took a very long time to come down, making the little girl very tired. On the other side of the door, the guys felt a very scary aura, even hard to imagine what could be in this room. Suddenly James began to feel a great deal of pain. This was the reaction of the evolution tree. It seems that what she wants is very close by. It was decided to go inside using the Shadow Rift. Inside must be a plant of a higher class than the Tyrant King's flower. The first thing that catches the eye is the energy core, and what's next to it is unclear. It looks like 2 huge spears. James could try to stealthily absorb them. The key is to avoid a fight. Once the guy gets the energy, nuclear evolutionary tree can evolve again, allowing him to increase his power. Then he can ditch the 3rd floor and fight those people for the treasure of the ruins. Apparently the guy was discovered. Even though he was in the shadows, Wake was a huge knight who had put a core in his body and was most likely already ready to attack James. No one could have imagined the puppet would be this big. As always, it was not so simple. The guy urged the girl to go into the shadow and promised to handle everything alone. The evolutionary tree can appear to reabsorb the energy core. The guy can't let Anya see it, so he locked her in his shadow. Meanwhile, the huge puppet had already picked up a spear and tried to attack James, but the first attack was unsuccessful. The guy easily dodged it. The energy core that sits in the head of this puppet uses vines to control the situation. Just need to extract it, and as soon as possible. The first blow was strong but not enough. The swords couldn't penetrate the stone armor. The durability of this puppet is clearly different from others. You could say this type of weapon has no effect on him. We need to limit its mobility. So far it is difficult to attack the energy core because it is too high. We need to check what is the reaction speed of this monster. To do this, the guy at medium speed ran between its legs. Basically, it hardly reacted in any way, which was quite strange. In fact, he should have good strength and reaction speed because it was D rank. Now it was safe to say, at least in terms of reactions, he was definitely not up to his level. The lianas that were in the back had spawned one very ingenious plan. Taking one of them in his hand, James entered the day and ran at top speed towards the doll. He wrapped these vines around its head, then reached down and began to pull down hard to knock the huge stone doll off its feet. At the beginning, the guy was pulling just by force, without using magic, but as it turned out, it wasn't enough. So he briefly thought he entered the shadows and flew forward with great speed. It was such a strong jolt that the doll was knocked off his feet in an instant, and when he fell, the ground beneath him even collapsed a little. James definitely has D-rank combat abilities after all. Now came the sweetest moment. The evolution tree got what it wanted. This time the core body even came out. This had never happened before. The tree looked at the core for a moment, and then began to absorb it. After everything was successful, the tree began to emit a very bright light, and then it turned into a lovely, beautiful girl, with big blue eyes, beautiful shape, and an incredible outfit. James couldn't believe his eyes, how the evolutionary tree had turned into such a beautiful lady. After that, the guy received a notification that his level has increased from F rank to E rank. Now all that is left is to complete the attribute allocation procedure. To evolve requires 4 types of characteristics. If you lack at least one of any characteristic, it will be impossible to rise to E rank right now. But Blago, James had enough, so he would evolve right now. Thanks to the new rank, the level of all abilities has also increased. Thanks to the tree with a clear goal, upgrading is much faster and more convenient. In the past, James used to run around like a man and destroying a bunch of zombies to level up, but now everything has changed. James asked the girl if he should still call her the evolutionary tree. He also wondered why he was chosen for rebirth. The girl asked to still be called the evolutionary tree, and said she couldn't answer that question because she didn't remember all the events. But there was a voice in her brain that told her to keep evolving, and everything was answered. So James' evolution is the key. Then no wonder why the girl helped the guy during the zombie horde attack, and allowed him to keep evolving. Most likely the evolutionary tree's memory is directly tied to the guy's progress, so leveling up is very important. Also, the girl can't stay outside too long. She needs to get back into the system. It all happened so fast that James didn't even have time to ask all his questions, but that was okay. He could do that when he logged back in. But now he had to go find the people who had gone through the other side. As little Anna was still in the shadow gap, she kept cheering her friend on and saying that he would win. When the guy removed the darkness from her eyes, she was shocked to say the least. Once again the fight was over very quickly. Suddenly, right in front of the guys, the ground began to fall, and stones jumped the same woman who took the fight from the 3 people in black plans. Apparently the grip there was very serious. They literally began to destroy the underground ruins. The guys noticed each other. From the woman's face you could understand that she obviously did not expect to see more people here. Now the girl was sure that there were more floors that she and her team hadn't explored. Anya said that she had never met such people with brown eyes before, and Jamie suggested that it might be the third team that was looking for the treasure. These men were quite strong and demanded the broken arm of the divine stone urgently. As it turned out, there was already one seriously wounded man in the team. He would no longer be able to continue the fight. He needed constant supervision. It was already 2 minutes at least. James realized that these guys have already fought for the treasure, but something is not quite working out for them to win. The girl, out of desperation, decided to meet the guy, apologized for dragging him into this story, and asked him to help her fight these powerful enemies. James wanted to know exactly why he would risk his life on behalf of people he didn't know. The other members of the team began to say that there was no point in asking for help, because James was only E rank. Why even try to negotiate with him? Meanwhile, the cloaked men began to mock, because according to them, even if someone joined them, they would destroy them all anyway. These guys were D rank. If the E rank started fighting against them, then nothing would change dramatically. The girl repeated again that she and her team is not in a favorable position. Also, it seems to her that the guy is definitely not from ordinary people, so boldly suggests him to join the battle, and all her team will do everything possible to cover him in the fight. After all, even if now with the guys want to intervene, the next ones she will be these zombies will be James and Anna. In general, there was no time to talk. The offer would be always on the table. The guy just had to make a decision. The zombies in their turn just stood there and enjoyed this performance, but they didn't have much time to watch it for a long time. If you look closely, you can see that their body has a special aura and quite familiar. James agrees to help them, but in return the girl has to tell him everything she knows. The blonde guy was left to look after Anna. Of course he was outraged. Why should he listen to some E-ranked prick? It didn't take James long to attack. As it turned out, these D-ranked zombies have human minds. Apparently they even have a clan of their own, but whether they have a leader, that's a secondary question. We'll have to deal with them first, and then we'll know. When the boy attacked, he easily destroyed the vines we were trying to bind him with. While James made contact with the first one, the second one came in from the side, but the girl reacted quickly and fired a strong volley of fire at his opponent, which saved his life. The girl asked him not to act so rashly. She would be the main attacker, and James needed to support her. After that accurate shot, the guy made sure that the woman matched her D rank. By the way, the zombies were already tensed up too. They couldn't understand how E rank could move so fast. One of them sensed the divine power in the guy's body. He had to be extremely careful, because even such powerful damage was just a speck of dust to these creatures. James decided to go into shadow mode, get in close to the enemy at top speed, and deliver a single, powerful blow. As it happened, in front of everyone, one of the zombies instantly lost his life with a single blow. When the guy with blonde hair saw this, his mouth was open in surprise. The woman's hunch was true. The guy really wasn't simple, perhaps even two. For destroying such a high-ranked zombie, James received 600 evolution points. The second zombie could not understand how this was possible, where the divine aura came from. By the way, zombies of such a high rank also call themselves divine. In this case, James acts as a god destroyer. The zombie is so angry that he had to use his secret skill. He mutated into some huge fat scary monster. It's certainly not for the faint of heart. James has only seen this once in his life, which means the zombie is preparing to fight with all the power he's got. The guy ordered to get Anya out of here immediately and run away, so they did. The zombie had mutated from a fat freak to a huge, pumped-up zombie, almost C-ranked. A fierce battle began. The zombie was not going to give way in any way. James started to outflank it while the girl was in direct contact with the monster. She very professionally fought him, and didn't let him get too close. Even during the battle in her head, she wanted to find the answer as to how the guy was hiding such a huge power under such a small rank. He clearly didn't match what was written on him, then who he was getting curiouser and curiouser. As hard as the girl tried, any blows were practically useless. The most she could do was to hold back the enemy a little while Jameson prepared his strongest blow. When Zombie began to feel his complete superiority, behind him was a guy who was ready to make a decisive blow. But the zombie wasn't so easy and blocked him. This native type was much stronger than he could have imagined, and James had never faced anything like this before. As much as the guy is not the same as he was before, he has also become many times stronger. Since James doesn't know the man he's paired with, he can't fully expose himself to him. Temporarily can only use the shadow gap and his own fighting ability to cope. Now James is trying to suppress this huge monster, and so far he is doing a good job. From such a strong blow, the zombie with great speed flew away and hit his back against the wall. The girl began to suspect that she is almost useless in this fight, and you can basically stand on the sidelines. He can certainly use the devouring ability to instantly destroy it, but first he needs to check something out. The guy has a plan in his head to deal with it. To make it work, the girl has to hold him back until the last minute, because he needs a little time to realize it. James was determined to test his partner's fighting skills and the strength of his abilities. The zombie was very angry, rushed at the girl. She hated to admit it, but he was much stronger than her. But no matter what, it was necessary to make every effort to stop him, at least for a short period of time. Zombie from despair began to call people on foot with bones. For this he of course I received a volley of fire directly into the mouth, so that unnecessary much did not talk. Although there was little strength, but shut him up still can be, although not for long. The girl asked to do everything faster because they are watching so long to restrain him. Actually, fire ability is very strong, so no wonder she was able to become D rank in such a short period of time. Such terrifying explosive power, large attack area, this girl can be very effective for a guy in the future. He would have to find an opportunity and make a contract for her abilities, but that would have to be dealt with a little later. Meanwhile, Zombie had already started the process of destroying the girl. He was blocking all her attacks, and sometimes even bringing her back. James was right. The current fighting ability wouldn't be enough to destroy him. He was too strong. It was getting to the most critical point. The zombie was attacking his partner directly with his vines. He couldn't just let her die. James picked up a huge spear from the floor and threw it straight at the zombie's head. It was just a perfect throw right on target. Everyone was sick and tired of this monster going down. But apparently not this time. Zombie didn't lose his life, he survived the attack. With his strong arms he caught the spear right in front of him. Apparently the only plan failed, now what to do? But James was not confused. He took the spear from the other side and began to push it together with the zombie towards the wall. With maximum effort the guy began to move it, then to help him still came to his partner. It is a little faster process. Because of the strong shock she came a little later than it was necessary. The zombie in turn did not lose hope at all, still continued to say that he had the opportunity to destroy two at once. Apparently he really does not realize that just a few moments later this spear will pass through him. In order to increase the speed of movement, the girl released a strong stream of fire in the opposite direction. Thanks to the strong recoil, speed increased. Finally, our overpumped zombie starts to realize that he's heading straight for the wall, and he's getting a little uncomfortable. Suddenly, some kind of realization enters his brain, and now there's a phrase playing in her head: Anya is the cutest thing in the universe. It definitely played a role. Zombie distracted, relaxed. The guys competently did their job, sealed him into the wall once and for all. The little girl did her best to control the monster for 1 second. Everything possible was done. Now she's definitely not a liability. It looked great, such a huge body, with a huge spear standing without a single sign of life right in the wall. The guys couldn't believe that he had finally managed to pull it off. This fight had been a very long one. It was a great job. They shook hands and James could borrow her ability. Since the problem was solved, now it was time to at least get to know each other properly, and fulfilled his part of the agreement, namely to tell everything that is known about this place. The name of this brave girl was Jessica. First of all, these people in black cloaks belong to an organization called Disaster. They are extremely mysterious and their whereabouts are untraceable. They also move at a tremendous speed. I wonder what their purpose is, what they want to achieve. James has never heard of such an organization before in his life. The specific goals of this organization the girl does not know, but they are relentlessly catching zombies for some of their tasks. After James asked how Jessica's group found this place. As it turned out, all these people are mercenaries. They came here as part of the mission, and as for the organizer of these missions, the guys do not know him personally. The man who was badly wounded is called Elfie. He was asked to come closer. Jessica showed off the broken arm, made of divine stone. This is the loot they got on the 5th floor. And how James handled the disaster. This thing must belong to him. If it wasn't for the guy, the whole group would have taken their lives. James was very grateful, but refused to accept the gift, because if the guys gave it away, they might not be able to complete the mission they've been on. James already had what he needed, but he had one more request. He got a picture of a girl and said it was his sister who'd gone missing. The guy was looking for her, and I ended up in this place. Since the guys move around a lot, they might see her by accident, and tell her that her brother's looking for her. Jessica said no problem, she is doing everything she can to help James. Meanwhile, Elfie was getting worse, he was coughing and red liquid was coming out of his mouth. We need to get out of here as soon as possible and go to the nearest hospital. If not treated in time, he could lose his life. Jessica said she would give her address to the guy and he could contact her anytime. When the group left, the guy with the blonde hair named Jack was not the most conscientious. He suggested that Jessica destroy James because he had exhausted his power and the guys outnumbered him. The girl made it clear to him that even if they were at the peak of their strength, no one could even come close to Jameson. In that battle, he didn't even leave half of his strength. Yes, this guy really amazed everyone, but it can't be that he left less than half of his strength because it's only E rank. When Jessica stood next to him, she felt the inconsistency. This undisclosed power and his personality don't match in any way, so going against him is definitely not necessary. Little Anna was upset that the guy didn't take those treasures, because they were very valuable. James was very happy that he was able to fix things with Jessica. He gave her a chance to survive and return home, even though she hides her identity. But surely she has her reasons. Everyone was thinking about something else. If this man is really so powerful, why didn't the girl invite him to Skynet, and even hid his true identity from him, of all the team members? If James had joined this group, the team would have been able to complete a higher-ranked mission and get more rewards. Jessica didn't think it was a good time to tell random people that they were working for Skynet. If anyone in upper management found out that a member of the group was talking about it so easily, they'd be in trouble. James is a cautious man. You could see how wary he was of the guys. When the kid was testing Jessica's strength, he was being deliberately weak to drain her energy. We need to make friends with him. There was no time to stay in one place for long. He would have to move on, continue exploring the area, use the crystal to make it stronger. It would come in handy. The guys still hadn't found a use for that star. Now the guys have to clear the 4th floor. Anya was beginning to wish she could be as strong as James. By the way, the blonde guy was completely useless. He didn't help in the fight. On the 4th floor, the first thing the guys were met by was a large number of huge puppets. On the lower floor, they were all of medium rank. I wonder what level they are here. On the one hand, there were many of them, but on the other hand, it was a perfect opportunity to test the new fire ability. All the puppets made the same movements. They struck swords at the same point where James was standing. Thanks to this, he dodged the blow without any problems. The guy saw Jessica using fire as an accelerating force. With this ability, James can now move through the air for a period of time. At the same time, now can fight in the air. Group damage is much higher than Shadow Burst. This will help fill that gap. So far it turns out everything is very good. The dolls are deprived of life from us another. Now you need to learn to destroy entire groups of dolls in one movement. The main thing to control the firepower. If you overdo it, you can destroy the ruins. You could say it worked perfectly. Everyone in the tunnel no longer showed signs of life. This is a purely attacking ability. Its destructive power is much higher than Shadow Burst. Now it's time for Anna to collect the crystals. Be careful because they are hot. Apparently it's her favorite thing to do, because she always has a big smile on her face when she goes to do it. Well, this time something didn't go as planned. The little girl started to cry a lot. The red crystal that she had put in her purse was missing. It happened after she zipped it up. It was very strange. James asked her to take the other crystal and try to absorb it, just like she did with the intelligence crystal. The little girl was surprised that it could be absorbed too, so she decided to try it. In the end, the crystal just disappeared. Now everything is back to normal. Anya doesn't destroy zombies, she captures them. So she can't get energy to level up. But instead, she can directly absorb energy from items to evolve. James told her to absorb all these crystals, and then the girl will definitely become stronger. And so it happened. Anya evolved to E rank. Now we can congratulate her. She can feel how she became stronger. Of course, because in the future she will become the strongest S rank fighter. The atmosphere on this floor was a little gloomy. The little girl was even a little scared. It was the way to the 5th floor. We should go and see what was there. As it turned out, there was only one floor, and it was directly connected to the place where Jessica and her team were. It's probably a crystal coffin. The treasure of this floor was inside. Jessica took it. There seems to be a silhouette inside. The treasure protector was lying there. Anya started to feel that the atmosphere around her was becoming pervasive. Suddenly, some horrible monster appears behind the guys. As James also sensed it, he was ready beforehand, and at the right moment put out his hard fist, with which he struck the monster. After taking the treasure, Jessica and the others were bound to fight the disaster after taking the treasure. This monster looked even more horrible than the others, but most importantly, it wasn't stronger. It couldn't be called weak at all, because Anna couldn't control it. The way the monster attacked, he was counting on a quick fight, but he was wrong. Without much effort, James dodged the blows and waited for the right moment to counter-strike. When the opportunity arose, he used magic to push the monster aside, and then created an enormous shadowy fist in which he intended to land the aggressive creature. So he did. The creature, because of its low level, could not resist against this clever technique, and at one moment lost his life. For the qualitative application of the skill called Devouring, his level was raised to the 2nd, as well as accrued 600 points of evolution. Suddenly the whole place shook, and a perfectly flat spot began to form in the wall for the star that Jason had taken with him. Obviously, it had to be put there, and it might open a passage to the 5th floor. So the guys did. After that, it lit up with bright blue colors, and began to form a new hologram. Now there were 2 pyramids, which were above each other, as well as the wall formed a passage, which the guys, not thinking long, decided to pass. There they again waited for a long descent to the bottom, but this time not on a spiral, but on the steps. When the guys got downstairs, the little girl asked her big friend if she could fight. Jason didn't mind, but to do it, they need to meet at least a little bit stronger zombies. If a suitable candidate is met, the way the little girl takes it, but not Sve. When the guy took Jessica's ability, he spent all his savings, so you need to quickly replenish them. The first ranky zombie appeared on the gore zone. At first glance, it's not that scary, but it's pretty strong. The armored doll has already been replaced by a warrior. It looks like there's a pretty big gap between the upper and lower floors. Despite the fact that the zombie was quite confident to start a fight, the guy dodged its blows without much effort. James threw his blade right at its head, but the monster had time to react and put a hit on it. But no matter, the monster now had both hands occupied, and this was a good time to get in close and use the devouring ability. For the destruction of such a monster was credited as much as 400 evolution points. This is certainly not bad, but still very little. After this zombie Odiaka went a whole crowd of monsters. In this narrow corridor, you could not even see the end of this group. All of them had the same goal, at any cost to prevent the guy from passing on. James told the little girl to stay calm and leave all those zombies to him, he would surely handle. For such an occasion, the Devour and Shadow Burst abilities were archived together, and obviously what happened next was a mountain of bodies all over the passageway. Using several abilities at once would eat up too much energy, but the reward was a very tasty 40,000 evolution points and much more. Well, there's the end of the second floor right behind these doors. Everyone was ready, so let's get to the opening. First, after opening the doors, the guys were met by a very large number of owls, which flew at the guys in a flock. It is not yet clear what kind of infusion they have, good or bad. It turned out to be mutated owls, so the plan was abruptly cancelled. James was about to send the little girl into a shadowy explosion. The girl threw a tantrum and said she wanted it more, because she always hid behind the backs of others, but now she had evolved and could stand up for herself. The girl ran to the side, used magic and got into the mind of one of the owls. Now she could start to control it. The owl was completely under her control. With the help of one owl, the little girl started to destroy all the others. It was a very effective solution. Unknowingly, James treated her like his sister, wanting only to protect her. But this girl was much stronger than he had been in his previous life, and would soon become just as strong in this one. A little later on, Anya began a real hunt from the owls. They all wanted to capture her and destroy her, attacked from all sides, then on the battlefield flew to the ringleader. Apparently the ringleader, because he was clearly bigger than all the owls that were here for years. James advised the little girl to try to take control of him, because he looked like the strongest of them all. She said that she didn't like him, so she wouldn't take him on her team. After scanning the area, she realized who was the strongest of them all. It wasn't an owl at all, but a completely different monster. It was rank F, and its ability to become rank S for a while. His overall combat power is the strongest among all the people in this building, but he doesn't know how to use it. If you enter his mind, you can awaken this terrible power. The mouse was attacked by two owls just at that moment. It took not much time. James was extremely panicked, so he couldn't save the girl in time. It's not long before the little S-ranked girl flies in to help, and at the very last moment, he flies to her and shields her from the owl's powerful blow. Jamie was already convinced that he was just a paranoiac, and he had to get used to the fact that this little girl was not as weak as she might seem at first glance. So now she had her own invincible bird. The other owls saw that they had a traitor and decided to attack him, but they didn't even realize how strong their friend was. Anya told him not to worry, because now he was obviously stronger than everyone else. All those who wanted to fight started fighting back one by one. This little guy started flying all over the hall and destroying just about everyone he saw. He brought a lot of use to the team. The tornado ability of absolute wind was applied to work such miracles. Anna couldn't be happy that thanks to her, this one would be easy. She hugged her bird tightly and named him Byagu. James greeted her with a new companion, but they didn't have time to stand around and cuddle. They had to get back on alert. The Great Owl is coming. It's a D-ranked chalk, and its main ability is to increase in size. Words can't even begin to describe how huge she is. Apparently, this is the real leader, not the one the guys met earlier. She asked him to leave that fat little trench coat to her. It would be her first boss she would destroy. James decided not to resist, and said that he would be on the backup. He would give her a chance to concentrate on the target. Time for Little Bug to show his real power. Anya was charging him with magic to the fullest. It was about to be a very strong bivta between the two birds, led by James. The leader didn't take Byagu seriously, so he tried to crush him with a single movement of his foot. But no one was going to give up so easily. The little guy just flew out from under his foot. After that, he tried to shoot it down with his wing, but still without success. Our Byagu is small and agile. Two more birds attacked him from the back, but James thought it was not fair and destroyed them personally. The boy advised the girl not to hurry, but to act in a measured manner. She should trust her companion completely, not just control him. When the girl first entered the consciousness of little Byagu, she felt how he was cowardly and unsure of himself. Anya thought that if she forced him to fight, his confidence would return. But the intrusion into his consciousness frightened him even more, and clearly made the situation worse. Since his youth, he was treated as a member of a different species. often bullied and mistreated, and gradually became very afraid of others and stopped trusting others altogether. Anya is just like him. She has no parents from an early age and is often bullied. She is also very fearful and afraid to make friends with other people, but she met James, who treated her with great kindness. So there is no need to be afraid. Anya just wants to make friends with the chick like James did with her. After this dialogue, the little one seemed to have a second breath, and he immediately flew into battle, full of strength and self-confidence. He started like a man and winding circles around the big owl, but it quickly began to bore the leader. This little owl that Anya had chosen was really very strong. James hadn't even realized it was that strong. From the fact that the ringleader was getting very angry, he was increasing in size. This couldn't be allowed to happen because if he got too big, this whole place would dissolve and no one would get out alive. James begged the little girl to back off. He would finish this up quickly on his own. The girl refused in the roots. She was sure she would soon finish it all by herself. Because of the owl's large size, all the walls around it started to break, the floor started to fail, and so on. Letting the F rank fight the D rank was not the best decision, but good thoughts always come after the deed is done. If Anya was clearly losing, she would have to intervene, so that everything around her wouldn't just collapse. Anya went to the extreme measure. She activated the ability Tornado Absolute Wind, despite the fact that not long ago it had already activated. The girl wished him luck and sent him into battle. Bugu began to twist around the owl with such force that the owl could no longer withstand the pressure around it. A red liquid began to ooze out, symbolizing that the great owl was about to fall.